discipline, and they're adding their retirement accounts, not with anxiety, but with genuine excitement for those futures that they're building for. And then we got my man Steve. I want to do a special shout out, just telling y'all about how Steve and some of the other guys on Twitter diving in with those comments. Yo, what's up, Steve? Good to see you again, man. Sliding back into the topic. So today we're going to be talking about, Steve, we're going to be talking about 3 mistakes parents make that destroy their kids' finances. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about this today is because yesterday we talked about what did we talk about yesterday? Look, I cover so many shows because it's 365 days a year. I can't remember off the top of my head. Hold on a second. Let me see what did I cover yesterday? I've got so many things. And you can always see all of the shows if you go back to the main channel, the main YouTube channel. Okay. Egos. That's what we talked about yesterday. Yesterday, we were covering egos and how egos could be ruining your relationships. And then after we discussed egos ruining your relationships, somewhere along the lines, we started talking about how we segued into talking about how you could be investing in your kids. You could be teaching your kids how to invest. You could be teaching, setting your kids up for financial success by showing them how to make, save, and invest money off of the allowance that you give them. Instead of giving them an allowance, you give them a paycheck, put them to work, and make money for you, specifically because that's a tax deduction for you. But it redirects the attention from paying for luxuries for yourself, from yourself to them paying for their own luxuries, which helps them be more responsible. Now that led me say, man, dang, I need to tell you guys about how you could teach your kids how to set up their whole portfolio, get their selves established, but they could potentially pay for their own college. And that led to what's going on with today's show. He said, you should make the sun rise, bro. Take a nap. He said I should take a nap. Well, I actually did take a nap before the show. And I'm going to take another one right after. We do this a lot. I took some time today. I was able to follow through with some cooking. I got to put away some of the things that I cooked today. I actually made some burritos. I made some bacon chicken wrap burritos from the enchilada recipe that we had a couple months ago. We cover the coffee videos, so the coffee videos up there. Then after I did that, which I got a lot of ingredients in a lot of places now, so the refrigerator is packed. So now I'm looking at potentially making some quesadillas out of some of this, because I was supposed to make quesadillas, but I got to get some more tortillas. So I'm gonna be ordering groceries, getting stuff dropped off on the doorstep. And because I'm not going to the grocery store till Thursday, but I'm going to order some stuff, get it dropped off on the doorstep, so that groceries will be here in the morning, so that I can make those enchiladas, not the enchiladas, the quesadillas. And I also cook for my dog too, so the dogs get home cooked meals as well. I don't just throw some kibble down on the ground. I actually spend time in the kitchen cooking for the dogs. So I was able to get that stuff done, take care of some personal things today, because I actually had an extra day off, and it looks like I'm going to have an extra half day off tomorrow. So I'm actually starting to have what looks like a 2.5 day weekend for 4th of July. So I'm enjoying that. But I do see a busy schedule coming up. So until that busy schedule gets here, I'm taking advantage of the extra time that I have off and getting some extra rest. Then when I get back into the full grind, I'll be able to go back into the full grind and take care of business. Recognizing that there were some things that I wanted to do when I was too busy to get things done. Now I'm starting to put extra effort into getting those things done, prioritizing those things during my downtime, which allows me, again, remember when I told you guys about prioritizing time, I told y'all, he said, yeah, the grind never stops. You're right. told y'all, find 3 to 5 at most things that you want to do for the day. One or two of them are major things, like really hard things that take up a lot of your time potentially, and 2 or 3 of them that are not, that are like really easy things to do. So ultimately you have no less than 3 things that you're supposed to be doing today. At least one of them is hard, 2 of them is easy, or 5 things that you're going to try to do today where 2 of them are hard and 3 of them are easy, where the goal is the easy ones are the ones that can wait for another day, less catastrophically necessary. The ones that are like time consuming, that are dominantly required to get done, those are the ones that you want to knock that out with however much time it takes for you to get it done. And following that method, I'm able to do at least 1 or 2 things every day that I know need to get done during the weekend while I don't have much to do because I have extra time. And then I'm able to get some extra sleep. And then when I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I still got 6 hours before the show, let me go do this and this and this. So then, because I have more free time, I can conquer quite a few more things, which puts me in a position to say, okay, now that I've checked off so many things off of my list, exactly what do I need to do this week? And that's when you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes down to responsibilities. So instead of thinking about every day of the week, all of the things that needs to be done, I'm just thinking about the 2 or 3 things that I want to get done over the next 7 days, and then see how many things I can do, at least 1 or 2 things a day, 2 or 3 things a day, until things start getting busy, to make sure that I've covered the spread on all of my obligations. Steven said, I took the day off. I rather catch up on some sleep to fix my sleep schedule. My sleep schedule is thrown off because my sleep schedule was supposed to be running through the overnight scenario, but because I had AM appointments that interfered with my ability to sleep, I had to throw my sleep schedule from 7 to 10, which is right before the show, the 3 hours before the show, which isn't a lot of sleep because it's just the 3 hours between 7 and 10. And then I had to figure out a way to get more sleep on top of that. So since I have been having my overnights off, because I normally work from now until like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then sleep from like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning until like 4 o'clock in the 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now that I'm doing things that requires me to be up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, well, I got to put my sleep time at a different time. So I've been I've been adjusting my sleep schedule by getting me a little extra sleep during this down period, and then coffeeing it up for the rest of the time once everything starts going back to normal with the demands for my schedule. But the good news is that I can work less and make the same amount of money, or work the same amount of time and make more money. So one way or another, I'm going to enjoy what the next period's got for me, because we're still making and investing money. So keep your eyes open for Monday night show, because I will be telling you on Monday night show exactly what the difference is with the Two Harbor stock if you own the stock. And if you don't own the stock, we're buying Global Net. So if you're not waiting on us to sell Two Harbors, you can always try to dance yourself into the Global Net stock, and that'll help you out. For those of us, it has to be bought by Thursday so that you are on the books by Friday. And with the 2-day layover for unsettling, when you're selling a stock, you want to sell the Global Net stock or any stock that you're trying to sell by Tuesday morning, so that the capital is accessible to you by Thursday morning, so that you can buy it Thursday morning, or at least Thursday at lunch, so that you're on the books before the end of business day, Thursday afternoon. As long as you buy that stock by 3:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday the 10th, long as you buy it before 4 o'clock on the 10th, you're good to go for the 11th at 9:30 a.m. where you'll be on the books for Global Net. So that's the goal right now. So, and then after that, I'll be letting you guys know where we're going to be tiptoeing to with the other stocks. So make sure that you get your money together and figure out what you're going to be doing, because the the plan that I see, I'm going to be giving you guys a few stocks toward for the end of the month, but the plan that I see is us trying to get ourselves into the Zim stock for August 2nd. So notice 2 or 3 trades out of the month, damn near $1,000 worth of profits. And it ain't hurting nobody. It's like a few minutes a day, and 2 or 3 times out of the month, and you didn't turned over $1,000. And then when you think about it, if we were doing it on a grander scale, because we were rotating around a couple $1,000s to make this happen, but if we were doing this on a grander scale, where we were using $20,000 or $100,000 to make these types of trades, we would have been making closer to 10 or 20 grand a month to move money around 2 or 3 times a month, and not have to really get out of bed to do it, because literally the time it takes for you to check your update your social media status, the time it takes for you to check your messages on your phone, to check your notifications, you could have moved the money around and went back to bed and had the whole day to yourself. One of the things we will be talking about doing down the line, though, is how to separate the money that you're trading from the money that you're going to deposit into your account, because there's usually a couple weeks hold time on the money before it clears to be released to your bank account. So you would have to say that a stack of cash that is no longer going to be utilized for trading sits still long enough for it to clear to be transferred into your personal bank account, and then you transfer it into your personal bank account, and then you pay all your bills up for the next 2 months, so that you got plenty of time to do that again. That's typically what would have to happen, but we're going to get into that coming soon. But let's go ahead and touch back on to today's topic. If you're imagining your 25-year-old when they plan to travel, where they have hobbies, they can afford to be generous if they wanted to, they live a life that's basically free from that deep soul-crushing stress that money problems create, where they call you for advice, but they never call you for a bailout. They are in any word close to independence. That's the picture that I want you guys to imagine real quick, what we were starting to talk about at first. Now let's picture the other one, the same 25-year-old in a different future, where this version is living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in credit card statements and student loan bills. The thrill of their first real job is completely overshadowed by the fact that most of their money is gone before it even hits their account. There's this quiet resentment, this feeling that they were never taught how money really works, where they're living at home out of necessity, not choice. Knowing, y'all know what this is like, because most of us grew up in this lifestyle. And every conversation about the future feels laced with fear, where they watch their friends move forward while they feel stuck, ashamed, and completely lost. Here's the scary part, the truly terrifying part. The gap between the thriving adult and a struggling one often comes down to a few subtle, common, and almost invisible mistakes that well-meaning, loving parents make every single day. These aren't the mistakes of bad parents. They are the mistakes of caring parents who, while trying to protect their children, accidentally leave them unprepared for one of the most critical parts of adult life, which is money. So in today's show, we're going to pull back the curtain on the 5 most damaging money mistakes that could be sabotaging your kids' financial future. And more importantly, we're going to give you simple, powerful strategies you can start using today to get them on the path to financial freedom. Now, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being present and intentional. Same thing with everything that we talk about on this channel. It's about changing your family's financial story for generations to come. So before we jump into the 5 big mistakes, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Why is this so hard? Why do so many of us, parents who would move heaven and earth for our kids struggle to teach them about money? Well, the first reason is pretty simple. Most of us were never taught money. That's like the easiest thing to think about. Think about your own childhood. Think about your parents' childhood when they talk to you about how their childhood sucked. Y'all know what I'm telling y'all. Did you have open, honest conversations with your parents about budgeting, savings, or debt? Most of y'all who grew up in financially challenged households only had the strength of a conversation of how they could not afford to buy you what you wanted or needed because they did not have enough money. They did not talk to you about how they were balancing the bills. They did not talk to you about where their paycheck was going, why there were final notices on the table or cutoff notices, or why was the power going out, or they weren't talking about why the landlord was arguing with them about the rent was being late, but you go to work every day and you make a paycheck. We didn't talk about the ins and outs of the household finances versus the debt in the household. And for most people, this is a common thing. A 2024 study by Empower found that 57% of parents regret not having more money conversations with their own children as they were growing up. We're trying to teach a language we were never taught ourselves. In many homes, money was and still is a topic wrapped in silence, something too stressful or impolite to discuss. And it was for the adults, and we were shielded from it as children. Stay in the child's place is what we were told. When money problems came up, they would send the kids into the other room, send the kids out to go play, let the kids go stay the night by their friend's house, and then the money conversation would happen between the adults. So we just repeat the pattern, not because we want to, but out of habit. And this avoidance can create a generational cycle of financial unawareness, which just leads to more stress down the road. And you guys can feel it a lot, especially when those of you who like to buy your kids name brand clothes, you guys doing a good job with parenting. You're teaching your children the prestige of branding when they're small. By the time the child is, 8, 9, 10 years old, establishing their own identity, branding is something that they were taught. But they weren't taught durability. They weren't taught quality over branding, because a brand can be garbage with a celebrity's logo on it and be expensive. Kids weren't taught budgeting. The closest thing that you teach a child to savings is you give them an allowance for absolutely no reason. And then if they want to buy something out of their allowance, they learn how to save. That's the first time a kid learns how to save, is when they want to buy something and you force them to buy it out of their allowance. But you don't teach them how to earn money. They just come and ask you for it. And it's either a yes or a no. And then down the line, some parents might bribe their kids. And we were talking about this yesterday. Some parents might bribe their kids. I'll give you a certain quantity of money to get good grades on your schoolwork. And typically all of this money that you're doing with your kid is to save up to get the kid their first car. That's it. Just to get the car. You're not teaching the children how to budget. You're not teaching the children how to invest what they're saving. And you're not teaching them how to manage a level of money coming in to pay for the car after they get the car. So all of what you're doing, if you don't give them a hand-me-down car, so if you got a car and y'all upgrade and buy another car and y'all give the kid the one car, the extra car, you're not teaching the child how to put money aside for gas, pay for insurance, pay for their own cell phone bill. None of the basic requirements for functioning in society. You're not teaching them that. You do it for them. And because you do it for them, it's actually utilized as a catalyst or a tool for discipline. So if the child doesn't follow instructions, you're grounded. You can't have your phone. You can't have your car because I pay for that. So I can take it from you, which you're going to deal with resentment. You're going to deal with rebellion. It's not the way to go. You want to teach young adults, you need to be able to find ways to negotiate. Like I told you guys before, make that allowance a wage, document that wage, issue them a paycheck, use it as a tax write-off on your LLC that you're running for your household, because you can start up a family business and the kids be employees, and then you can issue them an income up to like $14,600 a year right now, which is a lot of money for a kid, because that's almost $1,000 a month that you're giving a kid, a little over $1,000 a month that you're giving to a kid. So you don't have to give them that much, but you could give them up to that much and it still be tax exempt. You can show them how to do their taxes where they are a dependent to you and they're still filing taxes, but they're not making enough money to pay taxes. So they're still exempt, but they can start learning how to pay attention to tax season. They can start learning how to save and invest a lot of the money that they don't need on their day-to-day operations. And then because they have so much coming in from their actual income from whatever it is that they're doing, they can either start up their own business at a young age, or they can pay for the luxuries in life that they want. So if they want that premium membership on a video game console, they want the extra DLCs on Fortnite or whatever, they have extra discretionary spending to pay for that. You will have to deal with the irresponsibleness of their friends convincing them to take the money that they've earned and go and pay for their friends. But you got to teach them about how people will use you if they know that you got money. You got to teach them how to, tell people that you have accessible less than 30% of what you actually have, so that people don't ask you for nothing. Because if they think you're broke, then they're not going to mess with you. But if they think you're rich, they're going to try to bleed you dry and extort you. So, you got to teach them these things. As you're teaching your kids these things, your kids become more well-rounded teenagers, which allows them to become more well-rounded adults. And y'all seen that Steven said earlier today, he said, yep, that's what they said came in. The second reason that money is never just about money, it's tangled up in our deepest emotions. I told you guys yesterday, with the arguments and fights that happens in relationships, typically money is tied into love, guilt, fear, because you're expressing your guilt or your love and affection by buying gifts. You can make purchases out of fear, or just simply desire for control or personal desire on top of that. And we use it to show affection when we should. I keep telling y'all, we shouldn't use it to show affection. We spend out of guilt because we're working long hours. We rescue them from their stumbles because we can't stand to see them fail. So as soon as the kids end up in something that they're not supposed to be in, we're the first ones to run out there and go and bail them out. Because if we love our kids, we're supposed to bail our kids out. I'll put some money on your canteen and come visit you on Sunday, but I can't guarantee you that I'm going to tell you, my mom told me that if I did it, I'm staying in there. So ain't no bailouts happening. I better be not guilty. I better be innocent. I best to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, being stereotyped where it can be proven that I didn't do it. She'll come get me for that. But if I did it, she ain't coming to get me. And I can tell you, I have never been guilty, because I'm like, who am I going to call if I did it? Steven said, glad I was taught good. Look, now they ain't got a lot of people that was taught that well. Our instinct to be a loving provider can blur the lines between helping and actually accidentally harming them, between giving them a safety net and building them a cage of dependency. It's a thin line between the two. because spoiling your child, loving your child unconditionally, sometimes too much, you shield them from life, which is what parenting is thought to be. Unfortunately, because you are shielding them from life, they don't know how to react to life. Then, when you release them into life, they're experiencing what you shielded them from as children. And as an adult, they do not have the years of experience to know how to act and react appropriately in those exact same situations. It would make more sense for you to teach your children about manipulation with finance at a young age so that they're not being manipulated in finance as an adult. You should teach them about wise investings, too good to be trues, the unrealistic expectations of investing when the profit margins are far too high. And the reason why, when I say the profit margins are far too high, is because typically when the profit margins are that outrageous and nobody's investing in it, sometimes there is a 1% chance that that's just an undervalued stock that hit it big. But more often than not, the other 90 something percent of the time, it's a scam. So you got to know how to see the ones that aren't worth getting out. He said, I'm heading out early again. I'm being in next live that need that money. Definitely, man. Definitely. Tomorrow we're going to be doing questions and comments from the fan. Like the weekend, the money stopped moving. Usually outside of the holiday, usually you have the stock market moving over the weekend. You have people buying or scheduling to buy and sell. But since the market stopped on Wednesday and it's not going to pick back up until Monday, nobody's doing anything. So I can't even give you any transitions today. And I know that's what you come for. So, today we're going to be talking about some other stuff because, we're going to be making sure that you set your kids up, because one of the things I do believe we're going to be talking about eventually we're going to be talking about setting up other trusts for your kids, because me and Rev Champ was talking about that before. Getting a trust where your kids are a beneficiary of the trust, having a trust scheduled to release money to the kids after a certain age. But beyond that, having your kids start setting up their own trust, having your kids being with a revocable trust where they're building up their own assets and their own estates, or learning how to add their assets to the existing trust so that they can establish a larger estate by the time they get old enough to make this work. These are things that are important because, as we get going, we want our kids to be set. If we've got all of our assets in the right place, in a living trust, like a living will, our gears are turning so that if we pass, the next person takes over the kingdom without having the government step in probate style and move our money around for us. So taking this step, this actually is beneficial for us, because those of us who have kids and those of us who want kids, we typically can know what we can be doing with our money so that our kids are benefiting from the knowledge and effort that we're making, which also saves us money. Because if you're not wasting money irresponsibly on your children, then your kids are able to be useful in the household, take a lot of stress off of your plate, which frees you up from some tasks. There's a lot of times where there's things that needs to be done that you don't technically have to do, but you used to prioritize yourself to do it. Instead, you can recruit your kids and say, hey, I'll give you X number of dollars to do this, this, and this. And they will cover the spread, which delegates for you, reduces the workload for you, frees up more time for you, and then you have more time for your family. The goal is to, whatever it is that you do in your life, you establish strong emotional intelligence to utilize strong financial intelligence to expel more capital towards the ability to live life peacefully with your family. Because I told you guys before that if you're ever having a conversation about business, that's a business expense. So business on a trip, business trip, business during meals, business lunch, business meets at hotels, business stay. This is what we're talking about. So if you build yourself a family business and all of the family members are employees of the business, and you start talking to the family about business, and when you're talking about business, what are you talking about? Making, saving, and investing money so that the business, which is the family, can thrive. That is a business expense, which makes everything worth talking about. And the kids are more inclusive. They don't feel left out. They actually can be valued. You can stimulate their investment minds, which then you have extra parties thinking about and looking into other things, which start small, work your way up. If you're handling this with 7 and 8 year olds and you're stimulating their minds with this kind of stuff throughout their childhood, by the time they're 18, they would have been exposed to this for over 10 years, where those of you that's been watching my podcast that's been exposed to this for less than 1 year, 2 years if you followed me since 2023, but you guys would have been exposed to this for less than 1 year, and you're making a lot of strides simply based on the massive quantities of research that I have done. So you can only imagine if I was teaching my kids this every day since they were old enough to pay attention and understand what's going on, you can guarantee that the kids will be handling the books. They could handle the books. And how do you know that? You give them their own books and let them do what they got to do, right? Now, within 15 years of somebody being a financial advisor, you would find that they've had front row seats to the consequences. I can tell you, I've seen 30-year-olds who can't make a simple budget because their parents always handled everything. I've seen 40-year-olds in crushing debt, still trying to live up the lifestyle their parents effortlessly provided, not realizing it was built on a mountain of credit. And that's crazy because not a lot of people know this, that back in the 80s and 90s, we did not use credit cards back in the day as a catalyst for financial success. A lot of people in the lower income families and lower middle income families use credit cards as a catalyst to deviate debt to another location until we had the capital to pay it. So we would be living above our means and still looking like we are afloat, but credit score would be a 400. We have tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt. We would be getting phone calls from loan sharks that would be offering us cash to liquidate our credit cards so that we could catch up on our debt. And you would see some of us get excited because we could transfer our debt to a new credit card. It's 0 interest for a little bit, which helps us pay down the debt some. But the debt's still there. And if we ever get a blanket of space in their credit limit, they're charging something else to the credit card. Then when you see a family emergency, to come to find out all the credit cards are maxed out. We don't have any savings. We don't have any money to pay for this situation. Let's go take out a loan if we can get approved, right? I've seen the incredible relief in the eyes of parents who finally decide to break that cycle. So I want to make you a promise that the solutions we're going to talk about don't require you to be a Wall Street wizard. You don't need a perfect financial past. In fact, sharing your own mistakes can be one of the most powerful teaching tools you have. This is just about pulling money out of the shadows and into the light. It's about shifting from fear and silence to openness and education. So we're going to break down the 5 key mistakes. For each one, we'll look at why we do it, the damage it causes, and the practical steps you can take to turn things around. So the first and most fundamental mistake is creating a home where money is a taboo topic. It's what I call the cone of silence. Y'all know that cone of silence. Yeah, stand in the corner and stare at the wall. In these homes, kids see the results of money, the food that appears on the table, the new shoes, the family vacations, but they have zero insight into the process. They don't know if the family is flush or struggling. They never hear words like budget, savings, or interest. Money is just this invisible force that runs their entire world, but they're never allowed to ask about it. This almost always comes from a good place. We do it to protect them. We don't want to burden our kids with our financial stresses. Uh, the thought of our 8-year-old worrying about the mortgage feels like a parenting fail. So we put on a brave face and keep the worries behind closed doors. For many of us, it's also just how we were raised. Talking about money was considered rude. And for others, there's a sense of shame. If we're struggling with debt, the last thing we want is to expose our own perceived failures to our kids. It just feels easier to say nothing. But here's the problem. When we don't talk about money, we aren't protecting our kids. We're creating an information vacuum, and they fill that vacuum with a mix of ignorance, anxiety, and pure fantasy. Whatever they hear from their friends, whatever they see on social media. A child who never hears money discussed assumes it's either a magical, endless resource or a terrifying monster that makes adults fight. They don't learn the language of finance. So when they meet it for the first time as a young adult, usually as a student loan form or a credit card offer, they are totally unprepared. This can lead to terrible mistakes like racking up high interest debt because they just don't know any better. It breeds a sense of financial helplessness and continues the very anxiety we were trying to prevent. Secretive money habits in a family often lead to children developing financial anxieties of their own. So the solution is to break the silence bit by bit. This isn't about sitting your 7-year-old down with a tax return, unless you're following my method and teaching them how to balance the budget of the money that you're paying them for doing some work. Then you want to sit them down and do the tax return because you've been teaching them money all year. Tax season, well, now let's keep track of all the money that you've made and spent and what's a tax deduction and what is not. It's about weaving money conversations into daily life in a way that makes sense for their age. First thing you're going to do is narrate your money life. This is the simplest, most powerful first step. Just talk about what you're doing out loud. At the grocery store, instead of just grabbing things, say, hey, let's get the store brand cereal today. It's $2 cheaper. And we can put that $2 in our pizza night jar, right? You're teaching budgeting and trade-offs without a lecture. When paying a bill, don't just click pay, say, all right, time to pay the electric bill. Look at that. We used less electricity this month. This means more money stays with us. This connects their actions, like turning off lights, to real results. Back in our day, we had parents and grandparents that used to tell us to turn the lights off, to not only turn the lights off, but don't make noise in the house because the noise in the house would run up the light bill. That's how we would control the light bill. So, and they got us silent too, because we would tiptoe through the house and in the dark, probably at best with candles, to prevent from being yelled at about the light bill. Not because we cared about the light bill, but because we cared about getting yelled at. Didn't learn anything from that, except for how to travel through the house like a ghost, which, come to find out, as an adult, you can find yourself scaring the shit out of people when you are able to travel through the house like a ghost. Nobody can hear your footsteps, but you find yourself standing behind somebody when they turn around, scare the crap out of them every time. It's just like being in a scary movie. I find it entertaining. But others, because when you come from those households where nobody cares how you walk, you'll find yourself a 40-pound person stomping through the house because noise is not an issue. But then in those households where they're like, oh, they'll be making too much noise, blah, 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 and they'll be yelling and cussing at you about the noise, you'll see a 300-pound so light through the house. Like, how are you? So there's that. But back to the main point, deciding on an activity. This is another way that you could talk about money. We could go to that big, expensive water park, or we could go to the free splash pad and use the money we save to all get ice cream afterwards. And then you ask the kids what would they like to do. This gives them a voice and teaches opportunity costs. You make the conversation age appropriate. The talks evolve as they grow up. So age 3 to 6, the see and touch years, keep it physical. Use a clear jar for their allowance so they can actually see the money grow and shrink. Introduce 3 basic ideas: saving, spending, and sharing. A simple 3-slot piggy bank is perfect for this. And you want to get one of those piggy banks that you don't have to break to take the money out of. That way they can recycle the piggy bank. We typically forget to teach them how to save by the time we get to ages 7 through 12. But ages 7 through 12 is the planning years, which is what I was telling you guys about before, where you can introduce bigger ideas now. You want to help them open their first savings account, checking account, if possible, stock option, PayPal account. You want to get them a lot of things related to finance and investments over time between 7 and 12, so that they can start learning how to invest and trade and everything to that effect without losing a lot of capital gains, and then also have expendable capital to pay for their personal desires while finding ways to make money for them, in addition to getting out there and earning more principal until they make more money than they need, right? You want to explain the bank pays them a little money called interest, which is not enough to live off of just for keeping their money in the bank. But you also want to make sure that you notate that they make a ton of money off of holding your money in the bank. So it benefits them more than it benefits you. Whereas you could also make more money in other places, but that money is not readily accessible when you decide to go do day-to-day purchases. This is the perfect age to give them a small budget, say $50, to plan an activity or a meal for the family vacation. They learn to research, plan, and stick to a limit. Ages 13 through 18, the real world years. Now the training wheels come off. Talk openly about the real cost of their life, their cell phone plan, their car insurance, their sports fees, not to make them feel guilty, but to make them aware. Explain how credit cards actually work, that it's a loan, not free money. Also, you want to explain to them how overdraft payments work on bank accounts and interest on negative accounts and credit scores and things to that effect that you want to make sure that they're aware of before these things become negative, right? And then when they get their first jobs, you should be trying to direct them into their first hustle, whether it's like lawn care or babysitting or anything to that effect. Special shout out to Talenia. It's been a while since she's come to the show. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. they are like sponges. They listen when you think they're not listening. Just because they're not in the room doesn't mean they can't hear you. They are easily impressionable, so you can teach them if you're willing to teach them. But if you're not willing to teach them, they can get the reason why kids are disruptive is because they're not valuable. They're not valuable because you're not utilizing them in a valuable fashion. So the issue that you're having is that leaving kids to be kids for too long, instead of teaching them how to be responsible as early as possible, they're not able to help you in the way that you need help. And you're not really trying to depend on your kids, but you need your kids to be responsible. For example, you want to go to the grocery store and grab groceries for the house. You want your kids to help you carry the groceries in and out of the house. You got to teach your kids at a young age, carry what you can. Let's get the groceries into the house. It becomes second nature to them. We're all going to go to the grocery store, and then we're all going to carry the groceries into the house, which relieves stress for you. However, another thing that is a stress reliever for you that is helpful to you. Talenia says, my son's 15 years old. Congratulations. It's got to be an excellent kid at that age. One of the things that helps you out in these ages between 12 and 18 is if the kids are not pressuring you to give them a bunch of money for frivolous things. Teaching the children financial responsibility, instead of them asking you for something that is not ridiculous, they will be trying to decipher legal ways to make extra money to go and get that. Or if you're going to be issuing them some type of allowance or paycheck, that they would be saving the money that you give them to go towards that, instead of asking you for extra money to go towards whatever it is that they want to do, which prevents from putting an extra financial strain on you. And then if you're making it clear to them how much money, Talenia says, I never had a problem with them. That's great. We are open and close. A lot of mothers are open and close with their sons. I used to tell my mother everything. It's whether or not they're open and close with their fathers. That's a good thing, because if you're open and close with your fathers, you can learn a hell of a lot more. The other half of the family, there's so much more untapped information there. You learn a lot of stuff from the moms, but you learn a lot more stuff from the dads, which is why you need both parents in the household, or at least both parents to the accessibility of the child. Teaching them how to get that first job, teaching them how to balance the budget off of that first job helps the children be able to find a level of responsibility and a level of duty, so that they're no longer depending on your income as their allowance. And that makes them a little bit more self-sufficient. Now, when they get their first job, you sit them down with their first pay stub, you show them the gross pay versus the net pay, which is going to lead to you talking to them about taxes. And then you're going to be explaining to them what, why, and how we are paying for those taxes. That's when the kids start learning a heck of a lot more about finances, and why dad's not fixing the car fast enough, why mom's not upgrading the cell phones often enough, things like that. Talenia says he is not, but in my case, I'm more stronger than his pops. Oh, so he's not close with his dad, but in your case, you are stronger than his dad. Well, that happens when single moms have the children. They typically are capable of doing more directly for the children than what the fathers are capable of doing, because the fathers don't have accessibility to the kids. There are a lot of dads out there that would do a heck of a lot more for their children and be a heck of a lot more involved in their children's lives, but it is the responsibility of the mom to bring the child to the dad, so that the dad has the accessibility for the children. Poor boy. Yeah, I know. Kids not having their dads, it's a tough life for the kids to have to live with. Well, it's manageable. The kids are more fulfilled if they have access to their fathers. That's the truth. The next thing is hold a state of the family huddle. This is a nice title I coined real quick. Once a quarter, you have a quick 15-minute or so meeting. Don't call it a budget review, call it a team huddle. Talk about shared goals. Okay, team, for the next 3 months, our family goal is to save $500 for a new barbecue. Here's how we can all pitch in. This turns money from a source of stress into a shared family project. I told you guys about this before, about how making plans with the family makes things a lot less stressful for the individuals, which allows for you guys to all work towards the same financial goals and achieve them a whole lot faster. Because if you have a family of 3 or 5, then you have 3 or 5 times more people invested in making that goal a success. Talenia says he has got his father, and my son earned his one money. That's good. He owns his own money. That's good. Part-time jobs need to be starting at like 9 years old. So at 15, these kids is falling behind. It's an incredible, effective method, yet less than 2 to 5% have discussed family finances with their kids to teach it to them. Yeah, I know. You said that you and your son, and you said that the dad's not doing as much as you are. You're stronger than dad is when it comes to the kids front. I was paying attention. Now, breaking the code in the silence is the antidote to financial anxiety, and it replaces fear with facts and ignorance with capabilities. It's the most important foundation you can possibly lay. The second major mistake is acting as the benevolent bank of mom and dad. We don't want to do that. A bank with a zero consequence lending policy. This is the parent who swoops in to fix every financial fumble. The 10-year-old blows their allowance on Monday and needs money for the book fair on Friday. The bank hands out a grant. The 16-year-old loses their new phone. The bank provides an instant interest-free replacement. The 22-year-old overspends on vacation and can't make their car payment. The bank covers the difference, no questions asked. This comes from a place of fierce love, and we can't stand to see our kids suffer, but their disappointment feels like our disappointment, and rescuing them gives us both immediate relief, and it feels like good parenting, but it's not. She said, resell that what he's doing. Oh, okay. Oh, so he's doing retail. He's selling things. I mean, that's good. That's good. Because a young man learning how to buy and sell things, he'll be able to couple that with investing. He'll be on the ball. I think if he's learning how to sell things, resell things, or working in retail, he would have a lot more understanding about how to make money, how to negotiate deals and contracts and everything. And then he just has to have opportunities to learn some of the other things related to business and finance. That would help him out. Many of us want to give our kids a better childhood than what we had. And if we grew up with less, our gut instinct is to make sure our children never experience that same feeling of wanting. A recent study showed that 65% of parents find it harder to step back and let their kids make their own money mistakes. But when we constantly rescue our kids, we rob them of the life's most powerful teaching, which is experience. And we aren't teaching them how to manage money. We're teaching them that they don't have to. And this warps their view of reality. Let's see. She says, He's got Prada and Gucci. Well, name brand, and I don't. Well, yeah, parents typically buy their kids more than what they get for themselves. So we find so especially if we don't got it like that, we find ourselves in positions where we're either wearing extremely old clothes, outdated clothes, holes and stains and other such, and our kids wearing brand new clothes, name brand clothes, and that's how we show that we care for our kids. However, if we teach our kids financial responsibility, they should know about Gucci and Prada, but they should not own any Gucci and Prada. If they know the value and quality of Gucci and Prada is the same value and quality as khaki and Dickie and the regular polo, where they would spend a percentage of the quantity of capital on durability, especially when you're thinking about kids outside in the yard playing in the mud. Do you really want them outside in like $700 Gucci outfits and $900 Prada outfits so that they can go play in the mud, so that they can go get their knees skint up on the baseball field, so that they could you know just destroy their outfit in grass stains playing football with their friend because they're wearing Gucci and Prada, right? Gucci and Prada, while name brand outfits, people typically wear seemingly luxurious clothing in scenarios where they're not damaging their clothing. We have a phrase called play clothes versus school clothes, which would be also identified as work clothes, which is usually the way it works out is that you wear it to church first, and then you wear it to school next. And then when by the time you finish damaging it at school, then you wear it for play clothes, and you replace your church clothes, and the replacement of your church clothes replaces your school clothes, and a replacement of your school clothes replaces your play clothes. And then when your play clothes are no longer beneficial to you, they become hand-me-downs for the next kid so that you don't have to buy as many clothes. Not too many people in this. She said he's doing music right now. That's fantastic. Hopefully I can hear him play one day. But these days, the less people are prioritizing church, you would have the kids going to school first, and then so their school clothes first day of school, so they got the school clothes, and then the best clothes out of their school clothes might be worn at church if they go to church. And then when the school clothes get messed up, then they become play clothes, and then you replace the school clothes with more school clothes, and that's if you're not in a school that has school uniforms. So a lot of those things change, but even the school uniforms are not name brand. They're regular clothes, just colored to the brand of the school so that you can identify all the kids that go to the specific school in the neighborhood. And she says, no next kid. Well, just because you're not having another kid doesn't mean that your child couldn't use another sibling, which also teaches them responsibility. The dynamic is that if you're teaching the children durability, and then they can find the exact same outfit that's not name brand, similar coloring, and that outfit lasts longer than the name brand outfit, they're spending less money on longevity, which means their outfit will go a lot further. Or they can spend more money on the brand, and the outfit is going to be good for the season. When they think about how much money they're spending in access just to get the logo, they will she said, we don't have school clothes. Not a lot of schools have school clothes in a lot of places, but there are different countries where school clothes is mandatory, and different cities and states in America where school clothes is mandatory. So, I had to mention that because we're talking about buying kids clothes. But yeah, the fact is that there's this dynamic where clothes, the dynamic between buying a little for a lot, or buying a lot for a little versus how often you have to replace it when you're dealing with things that are not as durable as other things. Congratulations that he's good with math. You should be able to teach him how to invest in stocks if he's good at math. You should be able to teach him how to be an accountant, even if that's not what he wants to be when he grows up. If he knows how to count that money, he should not have to worry about money when he's an adult. Now, this prevents them from developing resilience. Resilience isn't built from a life without problems. So allowing the kids to try and fail is what builds them resilience. And you want this to build by overcoming the hardships of not having enough money to do certain things or making the wrong financial decision on a small scale when they have the financial safety net to back them up. Because take Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a billionaire because Donald Trump inherited millions. Donald Trump invested millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time, here and there, until such time as his business deals started becoming successful and his money started making more money for him. But he did not put all of his money on a surefire thing. He would take a small percentage of his money and put it in different places where he still had a large enough percentage of his money in a spot where he was being able to maintain the standard of living and still be able to take chances in all these other areas. If you're teaching your kids the same thing, they can find more ways to make themselves more successful. Talini is saying she's buying normal clothes and he is buying his high-end stuff. That's good. And we're not poor. God bless us. Well, you don't necessarily have to be poor to be struggling. That's one thing that a lot of people believe, is that only poor people struggle. That's a lie. Rich people struggle too. All it takes is for the quantity of money you have coming in to be less than the quantity of money that you got going out, and you're struggling. You might have to talk to the wrong person to borrow a large quantity of money to cover the spread. And it doesn't matter how that's happening. You could be making less money than you're spending specifically because you have a smaller paycheck and a higher standard of living. You could have more financial responsibilities than your initial income because you went from being a family of 2 to a family of 3, or a family of 4 if twins came about. You could be impressing the girl and spending too much money, or you could have habits, drinking habits, smoking habits, gambling habits that could take your otherwise sustainable living and turn it into a financial burden. So you don't have to be poor to be financially strapped. You don't have to be poor to not have enough money to make ends meet. You just have to have more financial obligations than you have financial income to cover those obligations. We're always talking about everything. Yeah, that's good. It's encouraged that you talk to kids about you. I've noticed, and I see this on TV a lot of the time on Netflix and everything like that. And I experienced it myself as a kid before as well. We see it a lot where the parents lie to their children, saying that they're protecting the children to keep the kids in the dark about the things that the parents are embarrassed about, the things that the parents don't feel comfortable with having to handle in front of the children. Anything that's not considered normal, they'll just lie to the kids about it. Then they want the kids to tell them the truth all the time so that they know how to circumvent problems for the kids. Parents have to hit the ground running when it comes down to telling the kids everything. Full disclosure. And or not full disclosure, but partial disclosure. And the reason why I say partial disclosure is because the absence of knowledge can be your friend in some situations. So it's best that you don't know, because the less you know, the less you're responsible for it, because knowledge comes with responsibility. And if you know about this, you have a duty to do something about it. She says he is very respectful and chill one. That's good. And my personality and me personally, also never arguing about anything. Well, when it's just mom and son, it's very few times that arguments come about because boys are easily able to go on autopilot. Parents are more strict on girls than what they are on boys. As long as a boy doesn't bring the girl back pregnant, there really isn't an issue with boys. Girls, on the other hand, there are rules, there are responsibilities, there are curfews to keep them from coming back pregnant. So while boys have more freedom in life growing up, less responsibility, less guidance, there's more to teach the boys than what the boys are being taught. So there's that. It is significantly harder to raise girls than it is to raise boys. It's just that we spoil the kids. We spoil the girls more than the boys. We're rougher on the boys than we are with the girls. But universally speaking, both boys and girls need to be taught how to not waste their money. A child who never has to solve a money problem grows into a brittle adult who panics at the first sign of trouble. It also serves the critical link between actions and consequences. So if you can spend recklessly and someone else just pays the bill, why would you ever change? This is how adults become impulsive with credit and debt. They're never in a position where they had to feel the real sting of their own choices. And finally, it breeds entitlement, where the child starts to see the parent not as a supporter, but as a source of cash. And this can poison the relationship later in life. And even more critically, can put the parent's own retirement at risk, because that's when the children start guilt tripping you into giving them money, bribing, forcing bribes, extortion, in order to try to get money out of you, because they look at you as a cash cow instead of as a parent. If you're going to be their financial advisor, that would be a little bit less of a argument about money, because you will have arguments with your kids about money. If you're just forking over money, then when you don't have it, when they want it, then they're going to, have hissy fits about it. Or if you refuse to give it to them, even if you do have it, then they're going to have tantrums about it. Talenia says, I'm too young to be a grandma. Never too young to be a grandma. They be having grandmas at 35. So if you're 32, you are right at that age for a grandma. Babies be having babies. The solution to the children not utilizing you as a cash cow is to become a coach, not a rescuer. Like I said, a financial advisor. A coach doesn't play the game for the athlete. They guide from the sidelines, but they let the athlete run the play and learn from what happens. Embrace the natural consequences. You got to let them fuck up a lot. That's what you got to do. It's just, you got to minimize the, do I have kids? Of course. And I make it a point to provide the knowledge and information that all the kids that I have need to be successful. Whether or not they use it or not, it's up to them. But I definitely make sure that I provide them with the true to life knowledge of what they need to know to achieve whatever goals that they're trying to accomplish. Embracing the natural consequences is a really good thing, though. This is the core of the coaching method. A natural consequence is simply what happens when you do something. So in a scenario, and all good, the I don't understand what you're talking about. They're all good. There's how many? A lot. I typically wrap my hands around as many children as I can get my hands on, and then we mold them all into nice little financial managers. Typically, I start teaching them between 2 and 3 years old to be responsible around the house, And then I have a nice little lineup. It's almost like the Sound of Music when they all lined up at different ages, so that and give them all responsibilities. Make one of them the project manager, and that gives them the ability to teach each other, learn from each other, and then grow. So it makes for a better situation, because you make the most mistakes, and I can tell you this from experience: you make the most mistakes with your first child. The second, third, fourth, fifth child, it starts becoming easier. You have your favorite, and I don't know like how most people derive their favorite, but for me it would be the one that's less conflictual, the one that cooperates the most. That's the favorite in my book. And then the ones that cooperate the least, probably my least favorite, because I got to put more effort into the ones that don't cooperate as much. But I teach them all the same. Make sure that instead of doing the bias, instead of doing a bias thing, I am equally as rough with the girls as I am with the boys, specifically because, I want the girls to be strong. And then I equally educate them about their responsibilities. They have different responsibilities because girls have to keep themselves safe from the negative influences of boys, and boys have to make proper decisions about their engagements with girls. And that prevents them from prevents me from dealing with kids from either front. So I should not have to have any grandchildren until the kids are grown. That way, there's going to be a gap in the timeline. But that's good though, because when we're traveling, and this is another reason why, when I can tell you guys that you can use your kids as a tax write-off, because if you're paying for all these allowances and these kids are tax deductions, you're also looking at business expenses where you're able to get things for the crew. Clothes become uniforms for work, stuff to that effect. All of these things that are tax write-offs, you can utilize your LLC or your C corporation to make your family scenario look a whole lot bigger. And you say one baby mama. Well, all my kids have same parent. There are not a large quantity of, I'm not the kind of person that would have 18 different baby mamas or 9 different baby mamas. I'm very selective. And that's one of the reasons why I teach you guys about quality over quantity. Very selective. The goal would be to put your interest into one specific person and then do whatever it is that you got to do to make it work with that person. Now, there are some scenarios where a divorce might happen or somebody might pass away, and then a new person step up, and then you might have 2 different sets of kids for sets of parents. But you should not have a revolving door of like baby mamas or baby daddies, because that makes no sense. It does show a lack of self-control, and it also shows poor decision making when it comes down to selecting your partners, especially from the perspective of women. You said, that's why I decided to stay single. Well, just because you got one kid doesn't mean that you need to stay single forever. It's not likely that you can't have another kid with another man. You've got a 15-year-old right now. You could find another person. I've done quite a few shows about people being able to pick up a second relationship while their kid's a teenager. And by the time your kid goes off to college in 4 years, you might have a 2-year-old in the house. That's not a problem. We're not supposed to stop procreating just because the first person we started having kids with is still there, but we're also not supposed to have a large quantity of randomized individuals where we don't even have a good social structure when it comes down to parenting, because how one child is treated with you and their parent is not going to be the same as how another child is going to be treated with you and the other parent. Then you're going to have certain things that certain kids are going to get from their parent that other kids are not going to get, and kids are going to feel left out because you're not providing that. It's the other parent that's providing that. So that's a whole lot more struggles that you have to go through. So I discourage randomization of just throwing out a bunch of kids. But as far as guys are concerned, yeah, a guy could drop a kid with every woman on the planet with no problem, because we're supposed to be creating a legacy. But you have differences in parenting styles, and then you have differences in parental behaviors. So it's not a good idea for guys to have multiple baby mamas, because some of the baby mamas are not appropriate. And that leads to a lot of problems, including child support. So you want to try to be careful about that. They said, I cannot find my standard men. Well, you might have to go to another country. If it's not, try a different city, try a different state, or try a different continent. There's somewhere. Now imagine a scenario where your 12-year-old spends their entire allowance on video game skin. Then realize they don't have money for pizza with friends on Friday. The rescue would have been, oh, honey, don't worry. Here's $20. Go have fun. The coach is, oh, that's a tough spot. It's really disappointing to miss out with the friends. And what do you think you can do differently next week so this doesn't happen again? You validate their feelings, but you hold the line. Missing the pizza night is a lesson, and it will teach them more about budgeting than 100 of your lectures ever could. So one of the things that I tell you is like, hey, let the kids know, well, you got save for your car, you're going to save for your cell phone, you're saving for your car insurance, this, that, and the third. You're teaching them how to invest. You're teaching them how to build their money. If they want a brand new car and that's like 20 grand, you're showing them, hey, well, if you're going to buy it, it's more fiscally responsible for you to buy it cash up front than it is for you to finance it. But we're going to teach you how to get enough money to go get that car. And in the process of going to get that car, you're going to decide when you're going to waste your money on something that you don't need versus waiting to get that car. This is what you start doing to navigate your kids into appropriate spending habits. She said, I will take a black guy who will take all my money and will show my kids how to scam people. That is cute. Well, first of all, black people don't scam like you think they do. They're just because they're black. You got people who scam in all races, and you have black people that are capable, majority of them, of finding a budget, making ends meet because they have more bills than what they have income, and they find a way to keep themselves from falling off on a regular basis. So if you found a black man and he had your money, then he would be able to show your kids how to invest that money, save that money, and make money for you. So, I mean, unless you're in a wrong neighborhood where you're attracting the wrong kind of guy, well, yeah, Nigeria is number one for scams, but the Philippines is starting to do a good job of that right now. And so is other areas of Asia, where you're starting to see individuals who come to realize that they can play that role and try to talk a guy into wasting that money. And I tell guys on a regular basis, don't do it. Matter of fact, I set a standard, and I have been saying it is important, even on a dating platform, that I not invest in anybody that I have not had 5 years of a guaranteed exposure to in person, which sets the standard. So when I talk to individuals that are talking to me on social media or something like that, and whatever conversation turns into a money conversation where they're trying to get me to invest in something or give them something or something to that effect, I let them know I don't give, donate, or invest money into anybody that I have not had 5 years of in-person contact with first. Plain and simple. Which puts them in a position to determine how are they going to get 5 years of exposure to me in order to get $1 out of me. But it also lets them know that I'm not giving them shit on. I have not met them yet. We've probably only been talking for a couple of weeks. I'm not giving them shit because I let them know I have a standard that no money comes out of my pocket and goes into their pocket without 5 years of exposure first. She said that she's in Berlin. Berlin's got a lot of guys over there, black men, successful. They'd be able to build you an empire. You gotta think about that. Don't write off a man just because of his race or nationality or skin complexion, because you might be writing off a king. And wealthy people don't look wealthy. Wealthy people wear commoners' clothes to prevent them from having a target on their back. They might dress professional, but they wear commoners' clothes. You very rarely see the truly wealthy with a wealthy mindset. You rarely see them wastefully spending on name brand clothes. They might have a Ralph Lauren suit because Ralph Lauren gave them a suit, not because they went out there and bought it because they wanted to wear a Ralph Lauren suit. You got to think about that. Now you want to differentiate needs and wants. You're responsible for their needs, food, shelter, safety, and their wants are their own responsibility. And I've been telling you guys this for the longest period of time. And when you do this, this saves you a ton of money. So if they lose that expensive designer hoodie they begged for, that's a loss. That's a loss of a want. That's not a necessity. They can wear another jacket. The discomfort they feel is a great motivator to be more careful next time. You want to make bailouts into loans, like I told you guys before. I told you guys to do this with all your family members, but this is a fantastic thing to do with your kids. Make bailouts a loan. Charge their ass interest with it. For older kids facing bigger problems, sometimes a rescue feels necessary, but that's only that's limited. It should never be a simple handout. Structure it as a formal loan. Draft a simple contract with the amount, repayment schedule, and even a small interest rate to teach them the lesson that borrowing money costs money. Then you want to make sure that the contract is also coupled with the refusal to provide them with any more capital until the loan is paid off, the same way AmScot does. Both of you sign it. This is a binding contract. It's actionable in a courthouse. And this turns a moment of panic into a profound lesson on credit and responsibility. She said, I need nothing but them, want me, marry because of my wealth. Well, it's hard. The more money that you get, no love in this earth anymore. Well, that again, if you have that much wealth, you should fly to another country and find and put your efforts into exploring other cultures, because I've actually covered a different country every week. A lot of them extremely affordable, where traditional men are looking for traditional women. And if you fly to a different country, if you're not satisfied in the country that you're in, you can't say that all men around the world are bad just because the one man that you got involved with was bad. The general census would be that you would have to really get out there and communicate with a few 100,000 men before you can make that type of decision. But the ideology is just that if you're actively out there looking for another person to be your significant other, it shouldn't take you more than 20 or 30 of them to end up finding one that you are willing to stay with. Because it is harder for a man to get accepted by a woman than it is for a woman to get accepted by a man. Role play and strategies. This is something that's also good. Be proactive and talk through potential situations before they happen. hypothetical scenarios, like how would they approach that based on the current quantity of capital that they have access to. She says, you want me to fly to search for a husband? I don't want you to do anything. If you're looking for a husband, or in order for you to find a husband, just because the husbands that are in your neighborhood are not the ones that you want, you go to a different location, you'll find the one that you want. If the fish ain't biting in the pond that you're fishing out of, go to a new pond. That's the old saying. So if you had one of these hypothetical conversations with your kids, you would hit them with one of these stories like, okay, so your friends are all buying tickets to a concert. You know you can't afford. What could you say or do? This type of scenario is like a flight simulator for their financial life. It lets them practice making good decisions in a safe space. You can also run these drills with them, because if you're building wealth for your kids have a larger quantity of money that they have access to for their age in comparison to most kids, where other kids might find out that they have this capital and be guilt tripped into having your kid give up their allowance money or all of their savings for something stupid for the sake of another child or a young adult. And you run those scenarios with your kids to make sure that your kids know that helping out a friend, waste of money, it is not worth it. You can ride the wave with them, you can be supportive, but doing a bailout where you put up more than 2% of your income on, or 2% of your entire savings bond on their bullshit at your age is not beneficial for you. And they're not going to be able to pay you back because they do not have the capabilities to collect that type of capital, which is why they're coming to you for that type of capital. But they would have been coming to you for that type of capital if they did not know that you had that accessible in the first place. Oh, Talenia says, no one for me exists. Well, if you feel that way, you'll be missing out on all of the potential suitors. There is one man on this earth for every woman, because the population of the human race is really close, like 50.1 to 49.9 or something to that effect, bounces back and forth. There's a 1-to-1 ratio of men to women up until about 40, 45 years old. Then it becomes 2 women to a man. And the men are going after the younger women, which means that there's plenty of younger men that the older women can go for. So you have the ability to find you somebody else. They might not be in your age group, but you can find you somebody else. It's just whether or not you're willing to do it. She says, I have account in bank for my kid. That's good. That's good. You should have a stock option for your kid too. Now, letting your child feel the sting of a bad money experience isn't cruel. It is one of the most loving things you can do. You are letting them build the skills and wisdom they'll need for a world that does not have a benevolent bank of mom and dad. So we're about halfway through now. And if you're finding this information valuable and you're seeing how these small shifts can make a huge difference, make sure that you guys do a quick favor and hit that button. You want to hit the follow button on Twitch and Twitter. You want to hit the like button and the subscription button on YouTube. And it's a simple click, but it tells the algorithm that this is important information, and it helps me know that you want more content just like this, because we're going to be giving you more financial information on how to increase your wealth on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I got to know which topics are setting well with you guys and which ones that are not. So thanks for that. And let's jump right back in. The third mistake is creating what I call the gilded cage, a childhood where everything just magically appears. The fridge is always full. The internet always works. New clothes show up in the closet. The child lives in this seamless, frictionless world where the actual effort and cost involved are completely invisible. We do this because we want to give our kids a magical childhood, and we work hard so they don't have to worry about the gritty details. It's also just easier. It takes time and effort to explain the household budget, and it's way more efficient to just handle it all quietly in the background. And in our cashless world, it's gotten even worse. Kids just see us tap a card or a phone and poof, a product appears, which only reinforces the illusion. Amazon got it even worse because every time somebody goes, "Oh yeah, it was nice talking to you as well today too. It's good to see you. It's been a while since you've popped in." Uh, it's also another thing where we have Alexa buy something and then it does it, and then Amazon dropping stuff off on a porch, and Amazon, FedEx, and UPS triple parking in your front yard, and packages are being piled up on a porch, and then you spend more time breaking down boxes and throwing away boxes for packages being delivered to the house, and kids just assume that it's always supposed to be that way, like Christmas throughout the year. Thank you, I really appreciate it. But that's not the case. It costs money to get all of that stuff. And until they realize that, they assume that you should always have it. And then it is embarrassing for you as a parent to be able to make that conscious statement that you don't always have it. So living in a gilded cage is great until the day the door swings open and you get pushed into the real world. Kids raised this way don't just lack financial skills, they lack a basic understanding of how work, money, and life are all connected. They have no concept of value because they've never had to weigh the cost of one thing against another. And this leads to what I call lifestyle shock in their early 20s. They try to copy the lifestyle they grew up with on an entry-level salary and can't figure out why it's not working. And this creates a huge frustration and a sense that they've been cheated. And it can lead to racking up credit card debt to maintain a lifestyle they can't afford, or even resentment towards their parents for not preparing them for reality when the children are shielded from the financial realities that results in this unrealistic expectation and poor money management skills as they become adults. She said, then I would give him for adoption. Well, I can't say, I don't know. I know so many people that are like, oh yeah, give them for adoption. And I'm like, give? Don't they got like auction houses for this? Like they be making a ton of money off of those adoption scenarios. Like I should get a percentage of that. It shouldn't be a give. It'd be like a sale. What you mean? Like they got dowries out there like back in the day, right? The dowries out there. It's like, hold on. $500. $500. I ain't just handing them off to somebody. That's always all the money I done spent on this. I'm gonna be sitting over there with the price tag hanging around the kid's neck, right next to the dog. The dog is for sale too. Buy one, get one free. Talking about, so give them away. Nah, that's an investment. That's a free labor workforce right there. Shoot, that's another reason why you have kids, so that you don't got stuff that you got to do around the house. It's crazy. Now, the solution to this culture shock is to make the invisible visible. You aren't trying to burden them. You're trying to give them a map of the real world. One of the things that you can do with this is expose them to the budget. Show them how much is available to spend. Show them how much is being paid for. Then you discuss with them, like we did with the previous example, real world hypothetical scenarios of how do you factor in luxury into this budget while maintaining on-time payment of these expenses. And the kids can navigate doing without certain things so that they can have other things, which is substitutions and transfers and transitions, but they're able to prioritize the difference between the needs versus the wants. And you're showing them things like you can't sacrifice your food, you can't sacrifice your standard of living, like your house or your light bill or your water bill and stuff. You can't sacrifice some of these things. So other things that you have to determine, what are you going to sacrifice? Your PlayStation, your Xbox, your stuff like that. And this gives you the ability to reintroduce the physical money, because in a digital world, this is critical. Giving younger kids their allowance in cash, let them hold it, count it, and physically hand it over at the store. The act of watching their pile of cash shrink creates a gut level understanding of spending that a card tap never will. And for teens with debit cards, have them log into their bank account with you each week and look at the transactions. Seeing the balance drop connects the tap to a real consequence. Give a cost of living tour. Once they're told enough for the basic math, take them on a tour of your monthly expenses, which is what I was just explaining to you guys a moment ago. You don't need to show them your salary. I would expect you to show them like an overall income coming in, so that they need to know exactly how they're going to budget that with the quantity of money they're limited to. But you can start off by just using percentages or round numbers. Sit down and say, hey, let's pretend our family gets 100 pennies of money each month. Let's see where they go. And then you draw a simple pie chart. 30% goes to our house, which statistically 68% goes to our house. And then they're saying 15% goes to food and 10% goes to our car, et cetera, et cetera. This is a total revelation for most kids. It shows them that money is a limited resource that has a lot of jobs to do. Involve them in the budgeting by giving them real stake in the game. The family fund budget is something that you would announce and say, this month we have a $100 budget for family fun. Then as a group, decide how to spend it. And depending on the size of the group, you see how far that money goes. But do we want one big fancy dinner out, or 4 pizzas and a movie night at home? And let them debate it. It teaches budgeting, compromise, and teamwork. The grocery challenge is another one, because when you go to the grocery store, you always have that one kid that wants this toy that they saw in a toy aisle when you're trying to buy food, and they'll make it seem like they can do without food until it's time to eat, and then they're hungry, but they bought this toy instead of getting themselves something to eat. It doesn't work over well. So before you go shopping, you give your older kids a mission. Our grocery budget tonight is $150. Your budget, Captain, keep a running total on your phone's calculator as we shop. If we start going over, help us figure out what to put back. This turns a chore into a game and gives them a powerful sense of contribution. Make needs versus wants a phrase in the household that's widely heard. This has to become part of your regular vocabulary. Constantly ask the question, is this a need or a want? I told you guys this about prioritizing your time and prioritizing your efforts. Is this something that you need to do, or is this something that you want to do? So this needs to be incorporated into your dialogue wherever you go. A winter coat is a need. A trendy jacket is a want. A winter coat in the summertime is a want. But a winter coat on sale in the summertime is a need to be worn for the wintertime, especially if your old winter coat is worn out and full of holes and is not able to be repaired. This isn't about denying them what they want. It's about teaching them to see the difference. And when they ask for something, a great response is, that's a really cool want. Now, let's make a plan for how you can save up for it. This acknowledges their desire, but puts the responsibility back on them. When we were growing up, our parents used to ask us, did you have winter coat money? Because if you ain't got no winter coat money, you ain't gonna have no winter coat. You're gonna be out there with shorts and short sleeve shirts on if you ain't got no winter coat. By taking apart the gilded cage, you're not destroying the magic of childhood. You're replacing a fragile artificial magic with something much more powerful, the magic of knowing you have the skills to build the life you actually want. Now, this does not mean that you have to dismantle Christmas and Santa Claus. If you're still going to maintain traditional holidays and you're going to waste a little bit of money on Christmas and holidays, you could set budgets for that. You could set budgets by age. Certain quantities of money is going on certain kids at certain age levels, which prevents you from overspending. But that also gives you the ability to spend the entire year saving for it, because whatever money you're not wasting on your kids, just giving them money because they ask for it, you can actually invest that into getting it for them. For example, we used to have a Santa's wish list where somewhere in the house, over the fireplace, over the fridge, something like that, each one of the kids would have a wish list of all of the things that we wish we could have. From that wish list, the parents would take that list and see which ones were realistically able to be achieved. And then that would end up being a Christmas gift if it wasn't acquired throughout the year. And that covers the spread. You already know what the kids want because they made a wish list, and then you help them budget for it. And then you either get what they don't get for themselves, or you can give them a little bit of money and let them buy it themselves. The fourth mistake is falling into the instant gratification trap. We live in a world built for now. Amazon Prime, DoorDash, buy now, pay laters. Our whole economy is designed to eliminate waiting. How you doing, Rickshaw? Good to see you again. I'm making it work today. We got a little bit of time. Wow, I've been up here for 2 hours already. That's what happens when you start on time. We're 3/4 of the way into this. We're explaining how you can improve the way you teach your kids how to balance the budget so that the kids aren't a financial deficit as much as they used to be. So when we bring that mindset of eliminating weight into our parenting, we raise kids who have never learned to wait for anything, that they see a toy on TV, they want it, and they want it now. They hear about a game from a friend, they want it, and they want it now. Their request is met with an immediate purchase. This happens for a couple reasons. First, it's just easier. Dealing with a whiny kid or a nagging teenager is draining. Saying yes is a shortcut to peace and quiet. I could give two shits. You can tell me about it all day long, but I've been talking to you about it since you were 7. That if you ain't got it, you ain't getting it. Second, we love making our kids happy, so seeing their face light up when they get something they want feels good. Guys, we do this with our girlfriends, that we waste a bunch of money on them. We buy whatever they touch because we love seeing them put a smile on their face. Fuck that shit. Y'all need to put y'all foot down and be like, as much as I love you and as much as I love seeing a smile on your face while you are looking at that, you are gonna have to buy that for yourself. Because while it feels like an act of love, we're satisfying their desire, which satisfies our desire to be a good provider. But the ability to delay gratification is one of the single biggest predictors of long-term success. The famous marshmallow test found that kids who could resist a small immediate reward for a bigger one later went on to have higher test scores, better health, and more financial success as adults. When we constantly give in to the demand for now, we are actively weakening the critical patience muscle. An adult who never learned to wait is dangerously impulsive with their money, and they're the ones who put vacations on credit cards without a plan. They lack the discipline for long-term savings and investing because the slow, steady process feels impossible, boring, and compared to the rush of quick purchases, completely unrealistic for them. And those are also going to be the individuals quick to scam, because if they can get easy money from something else, they would prefer to do that than to put forth effort into getting money over time. This mentality also leads to the adult industry, where females can get a lot of money for a little effort just by selling their bodies. That mentality, the quick fix mentality, goes a whole lot deeper than you think. And it does lead to poor choices as adults. The solution to this is become an architect of patience. You have to intentionally build waiting periods into your child's life. Institute a waiting period rule, where this should be a non-negotiable family policy for any non-essential purchase over, say, $20. When your child says they want something, the answer is always great. Let's put that on the 24-hour list. And the next day you check it. Do you still want that as much as you did yesterday? You'd be amazed how often the burning desire has just fizzled out. And for bigger items, make it a 7-day or even 30-day list. This one habit can break the back of impulsive spending. Also, if you're putting these scenarios on layaway or a rent-to-own scenario where they would have to acquire a certain quantity of money over a certain period of time in order to be able to purchase the item, where if you're still offering them some kind of an allowance money, that the allowance money that you're giving them to get that would take them enough time to get that, they would have to determine, well, based on the quantity of money I'm getting today, I would have to wait X number of days to get that item. Make savings visual with this and essentially fun. The idea of saving is boring to a kid. You have to make it concrete and exciting. So using a clear gold jar, you don't use an opaque piggy bank like they give you the pink piggy bank they can't see in it. You want to give them a clear one where they can see what's going on with this glass jar. You can use an old pickle jar or something like that, anything. Have your child print a picture of what they're saving for, whatever it was that they asked you for that's on that 24-hour list. If they still want it, you create a savings for it. A Lego set, a video game, DLCs, and tape it to the outside of the jar. Every time they add money, they can physically see themselves getting closer to getting whatever it is that they wanted. Use a savings chart. You also, when you have the list of desires versus the quantity of money coming in to cover those desires, they will come to determine which one of those desires do they really want the most versus ones that they can do without, because they've got a limited quantity of money and everything that they want costs more than what they currently have. So they have to save up for the first thing they can get their hands on. And that's going to be the thing that they want the most. Sometimes if it costs more than some of the other smaller things, they might get the one that's more expensive because they really want that one, recognizing that they can do without the others. But if the others that are cheaper or more easily accessible, they might decide to not get the more expensive one and settle for the cheaper ones because it is a quicker acquirement of that investment. But this helps them prioritize their desires. For bigger goals, you want to put a savings thermometer chart on the fridge, and as they save, they get to color in a new section, making the journey tangible. Celebrate the process. Don't just celebrate when they buy the item. Celebrate the milestones along the way, when they cross over their first 50, their first 100, their first 500, their first 1,000, depending on how much the item costs. They're 80% of the way there. They're 65% of the way there. You want to be able to celebrate the fact that they're always almost there. But celebrating doesn't require you to spend money. It is just the actual acknowledgement, the woohoo related to the fact that they're almost there. When they hit the halfway point, like I said, you got to let them pick the family movie that night, which is free. This teaches them that the process of working towards a goal is rewarding in itself. Connect this stuff to the future. Constantly link these small acts of patience to their future selves, saying things like, the patience you are using right now to save for that $50 game is the exact same skills you'll use one day to save for a car, and then for a down payment on a house, investing in a big business, anything to that effect. And you're building a muscle that will make you wealthy. You got to make sure that you let them know that. A lot of times, because if you're already wealthy, the kids are going to think, we're already wealthy. We are not wealthy. I am wealthy. You are just here. And in order for you to be wealthy too, you need to do what I did so that you can be wealthy too. Doesn't mean that you're not going to will them everything when you pass over. It's just that your children are not defined by what you've done financially. Your children need to define themselves by what they're capable of doing. And then if they inherit something from you after you pass over, then they have just that much more in comparison to what they started with. Now, the model of patience for yourself is something that's clearly important. And you're going to have to show patience in a lot of areas. But let them see you delay your own gratification. Say out loud, I really want that new coffee machine, but it's not in the budget this month. I'm going to put it on my 30-day list and see if I still want it then. When you model this, you normalize it. So you show them that self-control isn't a punishment. It's what successful adults do by engineering the weight you give your child a gift more valuable than any toy. And I can tell you, as an adult, this gift of self-control is very beneficial. There is a subconscious level of satisfaction for window shopping online. And I can tell you, I do it a lot. When I'm bored or when I have a little bit of free time on my hands, I can find myself scrolling through Temu or something like that, clicking on items and adding it to my cart, and then leaving it there, logging off and walking away. Yeah, I've got auto pay. Yeah, I could have bought now, but no, I just add it to cart. Like, I want to get that later. Period. Not 30 days from now, not 45 days from now. I want to get that later, whenever later is. And then I walk away from it. Then when I remember that the app is still on my phone, I'll open the app and then I'll scroll through the cart. I think I got like 300 items in the cart right now. It's probably $3,000 to $5,000 cart right now. I'm not buying all of that stuff, but I look through the cart, and if there's something in that cart that I wanted before, and I have the same level of desire to get it now, I'll determine if I've got the money for it. If not, then I won't get it. It'll stay in the cart. However, there are things that I impulsively was looking at, like, oh yeah, I can see myself getting that. And then I thought about the scenario that I'm in, and then I'm like, man, I'm not really going to benefit from that. So it'll either stay in the cart or I'll take it out the cart altogether. The ability to weigh the water of impulse buying reduces the quantity of things that you buy that you don't need. By engineering the weight, you give your child a gift that never stops giving. The fifth and final mistake is the one that undermines all the others, and it's the hypocrisy of saving all the right things about money when you're saying all the right things about money while doing the exact opposite. It's telling your kids to save their allowance right after you've gone and impulse buy online with a shopping spree. It's lecturing about the dangers of debt when you own your own credit cards and they are all maxed out. It's insisting on financial responsibility only to argue with your spouse about money so loudly the whole house can feel the tension. This is rarely on purpose. We often don't realize how closely our kids are watching us when we're doing the things that we're doing. So we think our adult financial lives are separate from the lessons we're teaching. And sometimes it comes from regret. We know we've made mistakes and we desperately want our kids to do better. So we preach what we haven't always practiced. But kids have a built-in hypocrisy detector. And this is where rebellions come from. They learn way more from what we do than what we say. And when your actions contradict your words, you teach them that your financial rules aren't actually that important, and you lose your credibility. Why should they take your advice if you don't take your advice? This goes back to people who say, oh, well, you shouldn't drink because you're a kid. Because you're a kid. No, you shouldn't drink at all. You shouldn't drink. You shouldn't smoke. It's a waste of money. But you do. You know, people say things, don't do certain things because they're bad for you. Well, if it's bad for me, it's bad for you too, because we're both humans. I don't morph into a different being when I become an adult. So if it's bad for me, it's bad for you. So if you're doing it, then it shouldn't be a problem for me to do it, right? Most importantly, you normalize bad habits in spite of the teachings that you have for good habits. If a child grows up where overspending is normal and financial stress is just background noise, that becomes their template for adult life. They're more likely to repeat those patterns, not because they're bad with money, but because it's all they've ever known. The financial stress a parent feels often transfers to their children, no matter how much money the family has. Parental debt, in particular, has been linked to poorer social and emotional well-being in the kids. The solution to this is to align your actions with your advice. This is the hardest part because it means looking in the mirror, but it also is the most important thing that you need to do with your children. You are the primary textbook from which your children will learn. So the first thing you want to do is a personal finance audit. You can do this with your kids. Take an honest look at your own behavior. Do you have a budget? Do you impulse spend? Do you and your partner talk about money constructively? And you can't model what you don't practice. So if you find gaps, don't see it as a failure, see it as a starting point. Model the solutions out loud. Your own journey to get better with money is a lesson in itself. So refer to yourself, refer to your budget, and when making a spending decision, say, let me check the budget first. That one little phrase shows that your decisions are based on a plan, not a whim. Share your goals where you tell your kids what you're working on. Mom and dad are trying to pay off the car early. Every time we eat at home, instead of going out, the money goes towards our car freedom goal. This makes you teammates with the kids. Apologize for the money fights. If you and your partner have a tense money talk that the kids overhear, clean it up later. Say, you know how mom and dad were stressed out about the bills. We're sorry we got tense. We're a team and we've got a plan to handle it. This takes the fear out of it and models healthy conflict resolution. Y'all shouldn't have been fighting about that money in the first place if y'all would have had proper communication and budgeting. But until y'all start getting that, go back and let the kids know that it's not the child's fault that the adults are not spending the money correctly. Be honest about your past mistakes. This is going to be your superpower and it builds trust. You could say that you really wish that you had started savings for retirement in your 20s. You didn't get it. You didn't know how important this was. And it's harder to catch up now at your current age. And this is why you're so passionate about the kids' understanding in this financial endeavor earlier. This isn't a confession of failure. It's a gift of wisdom. You don't need you to be an improving one. The parent who says, that's a great question about investing, I'm not sure of the answer, let's look it up together, is teaching a more valuable lesson about humility and lifelong learning than the parent who pretends to know it all. We started by picturing two different futures for you and your child. One of financial confidence, the other of financial stress. We've seen how 5 common mistakes, the cone of silence, the benevolent bank, the guilt cage, and the instant gratification trap, and the do as I say, not as I do hypocrisy, can accidentally push our kids towards the future of struggle. But the main takeaway here isn't fear or guilt, it's hope. The power to set your child on the path to a healthy, independent financial life doesn't rest with their school or their future boss. It rests with you. This isn't about being a financial expert. It's about starting conversations. It's not about being perfect. It's about being honest. It's not about giving them everything they want, but about giving them the skills to get it for themselves. The difference between those two futures isn't a lottery ticket. It's a series of small, intentional, loving actions repeated over and over. It's narrating your choices at the grocery store. It's letting them feel the small sting of a forgotten wallet. It's celebrating the halfway mark on a savings goal. It's you. You are the key, and you have the power to break old cycles and build new legacy of financial wellness starting right now. So my question for you is this: what is the one money conversation you're going to have with your kids this week? Maybe it's explaining what a credit card is. Maybe it's starting a savings jar for something they want. Maybe it's just talking about the budget for pizza night. let me know. The whole community would definitely want to know exactly what's going on. And I would like for you to put all of that information in the comment section. Start your commitment, making it real right at this moment. And finally, all of these videos that resonate with you guys, each one of these lives, they're accessible for you for later playback with the comment section in real time. So you can always go back to the main channel on YouTube and rewatch any of the financial shows that we have, as well as any of the other shows. But the financial shows have a lot of details about financial stocks and investment opportunities. So make sure that you please share the ones that you believe will benefit other parents, or who might benefit from some of the other videos that I post that you guys could utilize. And of course, if you want more information about financial strong families, you want to make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You want to make sure that you like this show if you haven't already. And I want to make sure that you guys remember that we are going to be live tomorrow night doing questions and comments for the fans on Sunday night. And that's all I have for you for tonight. So I want to thank you guys for coming to tonight's show. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And then fellas, 75% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. The information that we provide to y'all benefits the women as well as the men. But guys, I am focused on making you guys higher value men, not just by increasing your general wealth, but also increasing your personal life so that you can be rich in your personal life as well as being rich in your financial life, because your personal life impacts your money and your money impacts your personal life. So if I can fix both of them for you, that'll make you the type of person that you want to be. And if there's anything in your life that you wish were different, you need to come to the show on a regular basis so we can talk about it. I give you guys a different topic every day of the week, and we do not let the sun rise without going live. So we give you guys the information that you need to find a better way to get to the outcomes that you're looking for. All you got to do is let me know what those realistic outcomes are, not the unrealistic ones, because I can't help you with the unrealistic ones. But if you let me know what the realistic outcomes are, then I can navigate you in an effective way to get there. Sometimes you just got to keep doing what you're doing and not get distracted. Other times you got to find a new game plan. I'm going to let you know where you need to change and how much of it needs to be changed. With that being said, I want to thank you again for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Xander, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. respects my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.